Hey, it's still Face here with you. Well, as I said in my last video, my next model that I'm going to start fairly soon is going to be Academy's F-15E Strike Eagle, the Operation Iraqi Freedom version. This is a fairly new kit. I don't know how old the tooling is, but this particular edition is dated 2009. So whether that means the tooling is very new or not, I'm not really sure. But I have taken a look through the box, and it's a really nice looking model. So I'm quite excited to get to work on it. I'm going to start off with the decal sheet. There's only one sheet with this model, and thoughtfully it's broken down into different sections. So like there's part I think over here for like armament, and then like the various different types. There's like type 1, type 2, type 3. It comes with markings for 5 different aircraft. And then there's like common stencils and common data markings like all over here, and then like more armament for like the different missiles and gun pods and etc., all along the bottom. So it's a really nice decal sheet. It's printed by Cartograph, and Cartograph did the decal sheet for my MH-53, and the decals were outstanding. I think all the flaws that I had in applying them were my own damn fault. So anyway, I'm glad that I did that one and was able to learn quite a lot about decal application. But there's a lot of stuff on here, a lot of, well, fully the whole bottom half of the sheet is just for markings for the armament. Next up, we'll take a look at the instructions. We've got ourselves a nice big 4-page fold-out manual, fairly standard, but it has some black and white photos of the assembled kit on the front. Has paint callouts, which have matched colors for Gunsangyo, Aqueous Hobby, Mr. Color, Life Color, Humbrol, Tester Model Master, and something else I can't quite identify. Oh, it looks like it's just written in Korean, so that's probably just the color names written in Korean. I'm going to have to do some cross-referencing because I tend to work with Tamiya colors, so it'll be I'll have to do some cross-referencing to figure out what colors specifically that I want to use. Back page has parts callouts showing all the different runners, as well as the single small fret of photo etch parts. You may have also noticed there's instructions are fairly typical, starting with the cockpit. You get 2 pilot figures that can be posed in 2 different ways. I think there's like 2 different types of options for the cockpit, 2 different instrument panels. Assembly looks fairly straightforward. Nothing overly complicated, and then of course lots of bombs and lots of missiles and rails for the aforementioned bombs and missiles and etc., etc. So yeah, there's also a separate marking guide on a separate 2-page fold-out sheet of paper. First page has common markings, common across all different versions, and then inside has the 5 different marking versions, as well as guide for all of the armament. And last page has the assembly instructions for the optional photo etch set, which is included. Speaking of the optional photo etch set, there's not a lot to it. It's a pretty small set, but it has some additional, like a blade antenna, rear view mirrors for the canopy, seat belts, some parts for the lantern pod, I believe that is, and some other odds and ends I haven't quite been able to identify yet. But they look like just like access panels and such for the various surfaces. The main fuselage parts, quite large, but nicely detailed. There is an option for a deployable speed brake. I'm not but there's lots of nice detail, very, very nicely molded panel lines. I'm not seeing any rivet detail, which is kind of a surprise, but there's lots of nicely molded panel lines and vents and other odds and ends. Small runner with just a couple of parts. I believe these are conformal fuel tanks for the ventral surface, as well as a couple other small little bits and pieces. I'm not really sure what those are for. But I believe there's also an option to add more weapons rails onto the sides of these fuel tanks to gun up your F-15 quite a bit. Next up we have the clear parts. This one's a bit of a bummer for me. There's a big seam line running over the top of the canopy on both both halves of it. So that'll have to be dealt with. And I've never been a real expert at working with clear parts, so this is going to be kind of a challenge. I do have a plastic polishing kit, so I hope that that'll work. I picked it up with the intent of using it on any future car models that I was going to do, but with luck, it should work well for the clear plastic as well. Anyway, now we're starting to get into, looks like, some of the weaponry. Some of the missiles and bombs all have separate molded tail fins. More bombs, more missiles, more tail fins. I'm not seeing any, what look like any rails or bomb clamps, so those must all be molded on another runner. This looks like might be new parts for this version of the aircraft. These are pedals for the turkey feathers, I guess you'd call them, the burners, as well as drooped intake intake vents. So I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to do a little bit of research, find out under what circumstances the intakes in an F-15 actually droop, if they do so in flight or on the ground. Because I want this to be, you know, relatively accurate. Here we've got one of the duplicate sets of runners. This has the early type burners on it, and a lot more weapons, as well as fuel tanks, some cockpit parts, one of the two pilots. There's two different heads. I'm not sure why. Maybe they're intended for different poses. Not that it matters. I'm probably going to leave the pilots off because honestly the helmets are pretty poorly detailed. The body looks okay, but the helmets, big seam line over the top and the detail's kind of poor. So there's also looks like some intake fans and lots of clamps for the bombs, some missile rails, more bombs, etc., etc. So yeah, there's two of these. Here we got, there's the cockpit tub, this being a two-seater. The framing for the canopy, looks like maybe that's a centerline fuel tank rail or something. Air intake trunks, controls for the cockpit, one of the wheel wells, nose gear, landing gear. There's a bit of, now we're getting into more, again, more more rails, more weapon hardpoints, I believe these mount on the side of the conformal fuel tank, so these are probably all parts specifically for the F-15E. Actually, it says on the runner F-15K. Oh, something just fell off. Oh, crap. I'm not sure what that is. A part just fell off of the runner, right in my hand. Glad it fell off in my hand instead of falling into the carpet where I'd never see it. But all very nicely molded. There's actually some rivet detail on some of these hard points, so that's nice. Be a little inconsistent though with the rest of the model if it doesn't have any rivet detail on it. Now here we got the nose cone. Pretty big, actually. I'm surprised. This thing is freaking huge. And another fuel tank. Pardon me. Another fuel tank. And the horizontal stabilizers. These look like parts of the intakes. I'm not sure if maybe these are the intake fans or the engine exhaust. And then there's the speed brake. Again, none of these parts have any rivet detail on them, so that's kind of a shame. That kind of tells me that this is probably an older tooling, maybe from the late 90s, early 2000s, and then all the parts that are specific to the F-15E were retooled and designed to fit on top of the basic airframe of the F-15. And last up, finally, we have the wings, the intakes, and some more. Look like some more weapons mounting hardpoints. So that's all there is for that, except an empty box. So yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to get started on it immediately, or if I'm going to maybe take a couple days. I got to do some research about the actual aircraft. Like I was saying, I want to find out like about the intakes, when they actually droop, if they do in flight, on the ground, other details about it, because I want to build an accurate model. You know, I don't want to be just some schmuck who decides, you know, in the middle of building, oh, I'm going to do it this way, and then halfway through, oh, I'm going to do it that way, and doesn't care if, you know, it's inaccurate. I want it to be, you know, more or less an accurate representation of the F-15. But yeah, so I'm going to do my research, and I'm probably going to finish off, do my last clear coat on my MH-53 and my TIE Fighter. I will be doing a full build-up on E-scale models, so do check that out. There will be a link down below. It may not be up immediately when you've watched this video, but if it's not yet, it will be soon. So for now, it's just going to have like the photos of the runners and a little bit of commentary about it. But do please check it out, and you can see all the rest of my build-ups there as well, for pretty much every model that I've built for the last, God, 5 years. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching, and happy modeling.